Hey everybody, BK here. Welcome to Classic Conversations, or as I like to say, podcasting before podcasting. Most of the conversations you'll hear on this show come straight from my archive, interviews I recorded from artists back in the 90s when I was a music journalist, before podcasts were even a thing. Today's episode's a little different. This one's, I'm going to call it an instant classic. It's a recent conversation with Grammy-nominated blues legend Kenny Wayne Shepherd. I know, I said legend. Give it a minute. It'll be there. I actually remember seeing Kenny play when he was still a teenager at the Troubadour in Los Angeles. A young guitar slinger he was, turning heads, and ears were just listening. It was just crazy. We caught up while he was out on the road this past year with blues legend Bobby Rush, who even jumps in with a question for Kenny. We also have a caller at the end. You know, why not do what everyone else does? But this one's actually a really good one. Kenny's actually still out there touring now, celebrating the 30th anniversary of his debut album, Better Heights, which kind of kicked off a blues revival when it was released in the mid-90s. True story. So let's get into it. This is my classic conversation with Kenny Wayne Shepherd.
Thanks for listening. This is Classic Conversations.
What's up, Kenny Wayne Shepherd? How you doing? I'm just going to kick right into it. Congratulations, obviously. I mean, this music on this record, it's like a bridge, obviously, between the classic blues and some modern blues rockers. And I think that describes you in some ways.
My mission has always been to bridge the gap between blues music and a younger generation and a broader audience and more modern and contemporary sounds. I mean, you can hear that going back to my very first record. The blues influence in me as an artist and my music that I create has always been evident, but not everything that I do is always traditional blues. Sometimes it's not even close to it, but you can hear the blues influence there. It's always the foundation. But from time to time, and one of those moments is now, over the course of my life and my career, I've gone and done completely traditional blues projects because I love and appreciate the genre and the effect that it's had on me and the influence it's had on me. And, if it wasn't for the blues, then, Kenny Wayne Shepherd wouldn't be a known name. It's like I wouldn't be the guitar player that I am.
You've been getting interviewed now for decades. Have you noticed a difference? What's good? What's bad? Help me, school me, my brother.
When you're a new artist, nobody really prepares you for loaded questions. Nobody prepares you for the moment that you're being set up. You know what I mean? And that stuff happens. I'll never forget, I did an interview with a big publication around the end of the cycle of my debut record. And, it was a big deal. And the guy was super nice. He hung out all day long, and he was I was what was I, 18 years old, and the guy was budding me up, and acting we're pals and all this stuff. And I'm feeling comfortable. And he's asking me questions all throughout the day. So we're hanging out all day. So you never know when you're just chit chatting and when you're actually on the record. So the lines are blurred. And then he asked me a question, he was he kept pressing me. He was what do you miss? What do you feel like you're missing out on, in your teenage years? And I was nothing. I'm getting to do everything that I, could dream of. And he goes, no, man, come on, man. There's gotta be something that you wish that you could be doing right now or something. He wouldn't accept no for an answer. And so then I was well, I got to buy myself a new car recently, and I really love cars. And so I kind of wish that I could be at home driving my new car, but I'm out here playing. And he totally flipped the context in the story. It was teenage, guitar wonder would rather be home driving his brand new car than out playing music.
It's General Lee.
You never know, you're not prepared for that in advance. So you have to find out the hard way. But there's also a lot of misinformation out on the internet. And so when people are prepping for interviews and, they'll be well, I read this or I heard that or whatever. And it's anybody can put anything out on the internet. And nowadays, especially with AI, they can make anything look like it's a legitimate story. So you just always have to verify.
I asked Bobby to ask you a question, and here it is.
Oh, yeah.
I think what I like to hear the answer. What did he see in me that I didn't see in myself?
Boom.
That's an interesting question. Because I don't know exactly how Bobby sees himself. I know we've talked a lot, And a lot of the things that I see in him, I believe he does see in himself. Like, he knows that he's a businessman. He's serious about his craft. He works hard from the moment he wakes up till the moment he goes to sleep. Those are things that we both have in common and we relate on. What really blew me away about him was the fact that at his age, he's been doing this for 70 something years. He's worked his butt off for decades and decades. And so he says every night, he says, I have 439 records and I've been recording for 70 something years. And you go, man, anybody else would have just stopped a long time ago. Stop trying to do, like, he's trying to do different things. He's always trying to innovate. He's like, just doing this record and this tour with me is stepping outside of what's normal for Bobby Rush.
By the way, Kenny, that was my first question to him, because I interviewed B.B. King when I was young and he was 65. And I said, B.B., you did 50 albums. And he goes, 68. Like, he corrected me right away. Right. And I was like, oh, sorry.
Well, so when Bobby says 439, those guys back in that generation, I'm surprised BB didn't say the same thing. But to them back in the day, doing a single was considered making a record. 45 singles, with a B-side, that was making a record. So, Bobby's done 439 records. I'm sure a lot of those are like back in the day where it's like you put your single out, that's your album, and BB did the same thing. So I'm sure maybe 68 full-length records, but BB's
I think there's 400 more to go. When people used to talk to you, they always used to say Stevie, Stevie, Stevie. So I actually interviewed in 1989 Stevie and Chris Layton together. And here's a funny story from the studio.
As he would try to talk to us in the studio.
By the way, when they were recording with Albert King.
I probably know this story.
He would pick up the button, he would push the button and look at it, kind of look into it, and he'd go, "Hey, Stevie." And then it would cut off, right?
He let off the button.
Because he let off the button. He thought that the button would turn on, and he saw it, and Stevie.
So it'd be like, he'd go, "Hey, Stevie." And I'd go, "I can't hear you, man. You got to push the button." So he'd push the button again and go, "Hey, Stevie." And then you see his lips moving. And that went on for like...
That went on about 5 or 6 times. And finally, Stevie said, "Albert, you got to keep that button down." And then finally, Albert kind of got up and he came on out into the studio, and then we started talking about the song.
It is just such an honor to have that clip and to play it for you, to see you go, wow, Stevie and Chris, 1989.
Yeah, man. Well, Chris goes back 30 years with me. Well, more than that. Because my first album, Ledbetter Heights, he played on that record, and we're coming up on the 30-year anniversary of that. But he and I met 2 years even prior to that and played together down at Antone's in Austin. So, he's been on every record I've ever recorded except one. He's been in my live band now for well over 20 years.
Sick.
And I've heard all the stories, man. There's so many, great stories. And Chris is he's like family to me, man.
You've created a few stories with him. You mentioned 30 years because this is the 30-year anniversary of your debut record. Looking back, what'd you think?
I'm impressed, because I remember getting the opportunity to, sign a record deal. Every major record company in the country was coming down to Louisiana to meet with us and try and sign me. And we ended up going with Irving Azoff. He was the president of Giant Records. Irving is as legendary as they get in the music industry. And at this time, he was running Giant Records. And so he signed me personally. And it was really interesting. He took that chance on a teenage kid from Louisiana that was playing blues music and wasn't singing, at the time. And he gave me free reign. He goes, "What kind of records you going to make?" And I was like, "I don't know." He goes, "Well, look, man, you just do whatever you want." He's like, "I don't care if you make an all instrumental record." He's like, "Just go make the album you want to make." And I remember going, first of all, he gave me that permission, and I've taken that from day one all the way up until now. I've always made whatever record I wanted to make. And he gave me that opportunity, and I remember making the record, and you go, okay, well, here it is. We made this record. Now we're going to put it out into the world and see what happens. And you just really don't know. You have no idea if it's going to connect with people or not. And it did, man. And that first album, and followed by the second album, built us a foundation of fans that have been with us for 3 decades and have enabled me to have a career that's going over 30 years long.
I remember the heat. I believe you played at the Troubadour before the album came out, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I remember all the first times I played at a lot of these legendary places, and that was one.
I have one last question. It's not me. It's a kid that plays guitar.
Hey, my name is Tony Liberatore. I'm a storyboard artist. I work on mostly Marvel films and Fast and Furious stuff. And basically what I do is draw out the movie before they shoot it and create like a shot plan for the crew to follow. So it's a lot of fun. But in my spare time, I'm a guitar junkie. And I have a question for Kenny Wayne. When it comes to inspiration, as far as your guitar playing goes, do you gravitate more towards technical precision or more towards, say, like emotional expression? Like, do you prefer like the technicality of like a Brian May or the raw emotion of like a Jimmy Page from Zeppelin? I'd like to know.
That's a good question. And, I appreciate all of it. Like, I watch guys that can play technically way better than me, way faster than me. Their vocabulary on the fretboard is way more extensive than mine is. And I really appreciate that. I admire that in a lot of players. What gets me going personally and what I strive to accomplish through my music is the emotional experience. I want to stir something up inside of people through the music that we're creating. So, some people you're just like mind blown about like their capabilities. You're just like, whoa, how did that guy do that? And I'm like that too. I'm like, wow, that was incredible. But when I'm playing, I want people to be moved from the inside out. I want to see if you can move someone to tears through just playing music. It's like you've gone as deep as you could possibly go. And that's what I strive for on a regular basis. And that's what I love to listen to as well.
Kenny, I can't thank you enough. I've been a fan since you were 13, I guess, or whenever you played the troupe. And I just saw you recently at the Jim's show in Los Angeles as well, where you ran court. And it was just such a fun moment for me to see you. So congratulations. And I look forward to seeing you again in person because, I just love the music and, you don't live too far from me. I'll find you.
All right, man. Thank you.
Take care and we'll catch you on the road. Well, there you have it. My conversation with Kenny Wayne Shepherd. He said it all. We laughed, we cried. Actually, we did none of that, but we did have a great conversation. And that story of him getting signed by Irving Azoff is legendary. So thanks for listening to Classic Conversations. Or as I like to say, podcasting before podcasting. More conversations are on the way. All you got to do is press play. If you want to hear more conversations like this one, head over to my YouTube channel, Classic Conversations BK, where you'll find even more interviews from the archive. Make sure to subscribe and feel free to send along requests. And if there's an artist from the 90s you'd love to hear again, chances are I might have that conversation sitting somewhere in the vault. Thanks to all of you for listening to Classic Conversations, or as I like to say, podcasting before podcasting. Bye-bye.